We begin with Prime Minister Scott Morrison's Facebook education message. The father of two took to social media urging teachers and students to return to school for term 2. But as Brady Halls reports, it's left families and many working within the system in a state of confusion.
Hi Dustin, what are you doing?
On Matific.
Matific? What's that?
Term 2, and today Victorian schools were the nation's first to go back to school. Although school for many, like the Scott household in Melbourne, is once again the living room.
I was okay until this morning. I thought I was prepared, but yeah, it's pretty stressful.
Yeah, do this one.
While in other states such as Queensland, where little Evie lives, the prospect of another term at home is lamentable.
My friends and the playground and my teacher.
There was, of course, a skeleton staff in Victoria today, as there will be in coming weeks in other states and territories for vulnerable children or those whose parents are in essential services.
The education of our children hangs in the balance.
But the PM wants everyone back.
These children need you for our schools to remain open.
And not everybody is on board, from teachers
should butt out from this conversation around schools
to principals.
We're concerned about the social distancing. Many of our schools have got hundreds and hundreds of students, and in some cases over 1,000 students.
Federal Education Minister Dan Tehan isn't worried.
I'm quite happy for my children to go to school. All the medical expert advice says that it is safe for our children to go to school.
I'm really hoping that the school possibly provides us with a daily timetable of what we're to achieve with our children and what we should be doing and when.
The mixed messages of should they or shouldn't they has parents like Evie's mum Shayna, who also has Cooper, so confused.
I just wanted an answer. I mean, all the information they were giving us in regards to homeschooling was so overwhelming.
The problem lies in the fact that while the federal government gives some funding for education, the states call the shots, says Kevin Bates of the Queensland Teachers Union.
The decisions about what should be happening in schools are being made by state governments. It's their responsibility under the Constitution. And all the Prime Minister has done today by coming out and making this call is create massive confusion for parents.
But he freely admits home learning is nowhere near as good as the classroom.
There is real challenges here, and I know that teachers are scratching their heads to some extent because this means of teaching, this way of delivering education for our young people is not something that most of them will have had any experience with.
Principals feel the same way.
Well, there's no doubt that the best place to be learning is in your classroom with your teacher.
And that prompted the PM to make his statement today.
The expert medical advice throughout the coronavirus to date has not changed when it comes to the safety of children going to school. They have consistently advised that the risk remains very low. The issue in our schools relates to the safety principally of teachers, and we know that some teachers are in a high-risk category themselves and they need to be protected against. The workplace they are in needs to protect them. We understand that. Returning to a classroom may not be possible or safe for those teachers, and we get that.
If there are teachers who are 65 years or older, giving them a different role which doesn't involve teaching in the classroom.
If there is to be a return to class, how will it happen?
What we also need to do is to be looking at how a return to school is going to look. Are we going to have all kids back at school at once? Is it going to be, Year 12 this week, Year 7 next week?
Craig Pedersen, acting head of Secondary Principals Council of New South Wales.
And we need to plan that on priority. And so, yes, Year 12 would be a priority because obviously they're preparing for their final examinations, and the quicker that they can get back to school, the less disrupted their education is going to be. From a secondary perspective, I'd suggest that maybe Year 7 ought to be followed that.
Elise, are you worried about the boys getting their education at home?
Yeah, look, I am. This morning he was doing French. I never learned French at school. I did something different. So it's the whole me and my husband not knowing that 100%. And when he has to ask questions, I have to, email the teacher.
And Hayden, how's school going for you?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's a little bit boring as well.
I think one of the main difficulties is the problems with the internet. So some of the students, their internet will drop out every now and then sometimes the teacher's internet might drop out as well, and that can cause problems within the classroom and disrupt the learning.
My son, Jet, is currently in Year 12 in New South Wales, now learning the curriculum from home. For his mum and dad, it is stressful and, well, somewhat sad. 12 years of solid schooling, now in his most important year, and it's come to this.
Yeah, I think it's very hard working in teams and doing group projects because you're not face to face with your fellow teammates, so that makes it very hard to interact and problem solve.
If a partial lifting of lockdown restrictions returns, it seems schools may now be one of the first in line. But in the meantime, what's your best advice for all those worried parents and students?
It is not a competition, it is not a race. We really are in this for the long haul.
We don't want students sitting in front of a computer 6 hours a day. They will not get through the same amount of content that they do at school.
It's hundreds of thousands of students in the same boat. This is not about leaving anybody behind.
We will lose many things in the course of fighting this virus. One thing that I know teachers are united on with their parents is we do not want one of those things to be the loss of a child's education, giving up a whole year of their learning.
It is such an important issue, and now we know why Brady's been so stressed at work. Hang in there, Jet, and all those other students. The National Cabinet meets again tomorrow, where education is expected to be on the agenda with the states and territories.